Good morning. This is Joanne Bracewell with MyDailyCaregiver.com. We're here interviewing for the second part Peter Wagura Tumishi from Kenya. And uh, Peter is with an organization, Alive to Serve. And in his organization, he serves the people of his communities, providing care, resources, basic needs to the elderly, orphans, and people in the community who need food, resources. And he does this with without reservation to all faiths, all ages, and all those who have needs. As Peter was telling us earlier, he has seen that it is not useful to hate people into the kingdom, if you will. And he and his team want to love people, love on them, and show them that Christ is the way, and that they use the resources they have in order to show them that, display that. Now, there's an issue that Peter shared with me when I met him several years ago that I have also been able to help support. And I was very surprised. This is an issue in his area and other areas in Africa, I believe, that affects teenage girls that we do not see here in the United States. And it's a tragedy. And I just was very, very discouraged to hear this. And so I'm going to have Peter describe for you what's the issue is with teenage girls, a barrier to them staying in school, but such a simple solution.
Thank you. Welcome to the second part, and thank you, Joanne, for spending some more time. Uh, uh, Sometimes back in one of my counties called Kilifi County, where I served, there was a skyrocketing in the numbers of teenage pregnancies. Yeah,
Rocketing numbers.
teenage pregnancies
Mhm.
and all children pregnancies because some of them were not even teens.
Oh, these
Some,
are elementary school age.
Yes, yeah. Some of them were not even 13, 13 years, what we call teen.
Mm,
And so this provoked people to want to find out why is this happening. And much of it was attributed to lack of sanitary towels. Now
yeah,
you're asking yourself, what does lack of sanitary towels have to do with pregnancy?
sanitary
Yeah,
supplies
yeah,
and
sanitary
towels
towels,
in
yeah, towels,
towels
yeah,
you call them.
yeah,
Hmm.
reusable
Reusable.
or
Hmm.
disposable,
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
And so they ended up finding out that some girls, in order for them to survive those days when they are facing, um, they are having their periods, they have to go out and get money because
Hmm.
the money, the parents do not have money to buy them
Hmm.
sanitary titles.
Hmm.
There's poverty that is in
Hmm.
some of these families.
Hmm.
The parents can barely put a meal on the
Hmm.
table, and you are here talking to be given money to go and buy
Hmm.
sanitary tires.
Hmm.
You look selfish that you want us to spend all this money on you,
Mm.
money that would have bought a packet of maize meal to feed the
Hmm.
whole family. And
Like
so there is no money to do that
maize meal is like
in
cornmeal.
like
Hmm.
cornmeal. And
Hmm.
so some of them end up going to have sex
Hmm.
for pads.
Sex for pads
Yeah, so
or
that they can,
tampons.
yeah, so that they
Ooh.
can be given money to go and buy that, and some end up later, being pregnant because it happened, and some end up maybe having abortions. Others end up having sexually transmitted diseases,
Mm.
STDs or STIs as you call them,
STDs. Yeah.
and others end up giving birth, and some are married off a second or third wife or something like
Second
that.
or third
Yes,
wife.
so basically,
Mm.
the education journey or dream for this young girl comes to an end abruptly.
She can't finish school.
She can finish school,
Hmm.
and so the cycle of poverty, a daughter would have been of help to herself in future and
Hmm.
help the family. The cycle of poverty is
Hmm.
perpetuated once more in this family. And
Mm.
so uh, we found out what can we do to these girls, because we have been going to these primary schools, um, ministering the word of God to them, but
Mhm.
just telling them that you need Jesus in your life, is that really enough?
Mhm.
No, that is
Mhm.
not enough. James said faith without action is dead. And so
Yes.
we had to act. And
Mhm.
so we came up with this program that is called the Dignity Kids. You know,
Dignity
yeah,
Kids.
the Dignity
Mhm.
Kids. These kids, this is a box,
Kits.
yeah, the kids that has sanitary, reusable sanitary towels in it
Mhm.
and underwears for these girls.
Mm.
And beside this, there is what we call menstrual hygiene education that the ladies whom we have in Alive to Serve gives to these girls. Um, Due to the respect of the girls that we are serving, me as a man or we as men who are in Alive to Serve do not give that education.
Sure.
We leave it to our sisters,
More
my wife and
appropriate.
others, who
Mhm.
can be in a position to speak to
Certainly.
these girls.
And just so that those of us back home can imagine what they're referring to when they say kit is that each towel, if you will, is a layer, I should say several layers of material similar to terry cloth washcloths. And they're sewn together as a pad, and then they're placed in with, I believe it's elastic, into a pair of underwear, underpants, and then when the kits are distributed, they have a couple pairs of underpants, and then they have several of these reusable, washable pads that go inside. The idea of disposing of disposable tampons, pads, that type of a thing, it's not as realistic. It's not as available, the ability for them to dispose of these things appropriately. So the reusable ones are much more functional and they save money. So let's talk a little bit about money. What does one of these kits, if I can think about, if I went to the store and bought a package of pads, I might spend, but they're only going to last a week. If I was going to spend, say, $7, $8, what would $7 or $8 help in this case with the kits?
This five, $7 $8 would ensure that this girl is in school for a period of not less than 5 years.
5 years
Because these reusable
for
sanitary
$6 or
towels,
$7.
yeah, reusable sanitary towels can last for 5 years, taken care of properly. They will be cleaned. They will be sun dried, on
Mhm.
direct sun to kill the microorganisms
Mhm.
that would be harmful
That is
our
effective.
to
Mhm.
our daughters. And so that is where in menstrual hygiene education comes in, and they are taught how to do that. And so we are talking of such a little investment having a lifetime ripple effect.
Because what's going to happen is that they'll be able to stay in school, then they'll be able to graduate, they'll be able to uh, find a career or job, that type of a thing, and then they'll be able to earn a living, which in turn will help them to assist their families back home.
Yeah.
And even if they go to another country, or if they stay in their own country, they're
Yeah.
still going to have those financial resources, which in turn is going to build back up these communities, these counties, and to assist them even to build better schools and sanitation, the engineering of bathrooms and things like that, just simple things that we take for granted. And there's not a whole lot of infrastructure in these areas. So this is really, really important. It's such a small amount to make such an impact on our women and girls and women over there. Tell us, how would someone like myself or one of our listeners help help you in this venture?
Yeah, I would encourage you to donate to us. You can go to our website, Alive to Serve, and when you click donation, it will lead you to US United States
Mhm.
based organization
Yes.
that is called Unveiling Glory.
Mhm.
That is based in Richmond, Virginia,
Mhm.
and they help us to get to collect donations to
Mhm.
facilitate such a program.
Mm. So
So just get to Alive to
sure.
Serve
Is
and
it .com or
dot
.org?
.org.
Org.
Yeah,
O-R-G.
dot
Mhm.
.org.
That really
Yeah,
validates as well, because if we are people who are writing off our taxes, that
yeah,
it would be able, we would enable us to do that because we can get
sure.
receipts from Unveiling Glory.
Yeah,
So that's good information. We're also going to include that information at the bottom of this recording. I appreciate that. I would like to talk with you just as an encouraging story about the woman that had a daughter that needed to be reached. She needed to receive these kits. However, there was something keeping her from attending the women's group, or the girls getting together. I guess it was a school rally or something like that. You were speaking, or you were in a village perhaps, and you were distributing these kits. However, there was someone in need that that if you hadn't gone out and looked for her, you wouldn't have seen or found her.
yeah. In every village, we have point men and point women. Uh, Women who are there and they are ready to work with us. They know the village. They know their sons and daughters. And so we happened to be in one of these villages. It was on a Sunday afternoon. We had gathered about 300 girls, and yeah,
300
about
girls.
300 girls, and
300.
yeah, and my wife and about two other ladies. I think they were about 2 or 4 who are talking to them. Of course, I also had time to talk to them, and every time I'm speaking to young people, I mostly quote Proverbs chapter 13 and verse number 20. Walk with the wise, and you shall be wise, but the friend of fools shall be destroyed. I like reminding us all, that often. And so, after giving out the sanitary towels, the lady who had taken us to this building said, "Wait a minute, there is a girl that I cannot see in this group." And she asked the other girls, "Where is Rebecca?" The girl is called Rebecca. And the girls were kind of, they don't want to say, but some of them said, she is in the house. And so we decided to take, a packet and
Mm-hmm.
a dignity kit to her in the house. And when we got to the house, the mama was not there. Rebecca was alone in the house, and we found the mother, and she came and opened, and Rebecca was there, and Rebecca had her one of her foot tied.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
She was tethered
yeah, she was tethered
to a
yeah,
chair,
to a piece of wood or
piece
something
of
like
wood.
that. And this lady was crying. The mother saw us and, what have you come to do? We have come to visit Rebecca and we have a gift for her. And the mother started to cry, and
A
the ladies,
gift.
my wife and others, were asking, "Why are you crying?" And as she said, a statement that we have had from many caregivers of kids living with disability. And they say, "No one asked me about my daughter. No one has been asking me about, Rebecca."
Mm.
And that triggered in me to start thinking, well, now, could there be many other girls like Rebecca was
Yeah.
suffering from autism, Down syndrome, or a form of physical or mental disability that are in their villages? And we have found that there are a lot of them, a lot of them. I think that people are defined by their culture,
Mm-hmm.
and culture is about belief and values and attitude.
Yeah.
One of the beliefs that goes on with having a kid with disability, a child with disability, whether it is blindness or deafness or mobility
Yeah.
disability or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
is that some communities believe that you are being, God is not happy with you. You
Uh,
are existing at a cause. God has
First.
caused you,
Mm-hmm.
or you sinned against your parents, and your mother does, your mother, cast you or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you find that parents of these kids living with disability are stigmatized in many communities.
Stigma.
They are stigmatized by the village, they are stigmatized
Mm.
by the religious organizations.
Mhm.
You know, no church is willing to have an infrastructure of having these children coming with their parents to church.
I wonder if any of our listeners have experienced this type of thing. I know we have many mothers out there who are caring for children with autism, cerebral palsy, uh, mental challenges, disabilities, that type of a thing. My son had Asperger's, and I know that that our community has changed a lot, our culture concerning the disabled. But this whole issue, I believe, of feeling as if you have a child that that is disabled means that you've had a curse is something that we heard in our country many, probably over 100 years ago, during the witch hunts of Salem, Massachusetts. That was, well, I guess that was probably 200, 300 years ago. But that belief continued on. So this is an important thing to realize that in different cultures they go through this terrible ostracism. They are ostracized. They are repelled, or they're kept in the background.
Yeah, and so we kind of want to associate the whole family with disability, and we kind of want to treat them as if everyone in that family, is living with disability. And to an extent, we have had extents of women who are pregnant being advised that they should not visit a home
Mm.
that has a kid with a certain form of disability, because that spirit, quote unquote, of disability can come from the living child, or from the child who is walking to the to jump into the unborn or preborn, and whatever will be born will have, and so these are all tactics that the devil is using to divide our society, and the lies that he's selling to our society. And so this woman continues suffering. You can imagine a case whereby you are a mother, you have a son or a daughter with disability. Your son is disability, is blind or deaf or have whatever physical or mental disability. And in the village, you're being told that you are cast. You come to church, yeah, you run to church, and you find me, I'm the pastor there, and I'm telling you that your son is demon possessed, and so he needs deliverance
In the church.
Yeah, in the church. So this, well, not every church, but in many places we have heard of, multiple stories upon stories of these parents are suffering alone, and most of those who suffer their mothers in such cases. Mothers suffer a lot. We have fathers who suffer, but mothers suffer a lot, whereby barrenness in a family is associated with the mother. Infertility is associated with the mother. You are just giving birth to girls, the mother is a problem. You are giving birth only to boys, the mother is a problem. You give birth to a child who is disabled, the mother is a problem. And so, at times, some villages have found men, women who have been divorced. They are in their second or third marriage because they were divorced in the first marriage, just because they gave birth to a kid who is blind or mute or with a form of disability.
Yes, women in the United States, we carry a lot of burden as well. However, we've been very strong in putting our foot down and saying no, we're not at fault here. But that's interesting. Isn't there something in the Bible about a man who was blind, and someone wanted to know whether or not his parents were at fault?
Yeah, that story is in the book of John. I would think it is John chapter 9, whereby a man was biting, and the disciples were asking Jesus Christ, who sinned? Is it this man, or
Who sinned?
yeah, who sinned? Why is this man blind? And Jesus said, not the father, not the mother, not the parents that sinned. So Jesus is there. And also, he loves those who are created differently, because that is what we want our listeners and our viewers to understand. that whether you have a form of disability, you are still a bearer of the image of God. You are the image of God in your life. You are created in the likeness of God. You are created differently from me. We are all our God loves diversity, and in the same way in the Bible, in the book of Second Samuel, chapter number 9, where David, the King David, is asking, "Is there somebody? Is there a remnant in the house of Saul, the father to Jonathan?" Because I can do, I want to show kindness. I want to show the gracious love of God because of what Jonathan did to me. And the person who was presented to David is a young guy. Should I say a young guy? Who was called Mephibosheth, and he was crippled, and he was referring himself as a dog. You know, could be there were some members in the society who had referred to him as a dog until he started referring to himself as a dung. You know, at times, no one is called the blind. They have a name. Your name is Joan, whether you are deaf or mute. So I should not calling you the blind. You have a name. And you blind people, you blind person, you blind God. And you know, dignity, the dignity of human life, respecting the sanctity of human life. And so King David tells Mephibosheth, do not be afraid. I will show you the gracious love of God. And so we are stepping in as gracious love ministry. That is a department caring for the elderly, disabled, and the orphans. Gracious love ministries. Yeah, we are showing them the gracious love of God in the in our small and big ways, however we can. Yeah.
Well, it's so important to do what we can with what we have, and it certainly sounds like Peter and his group, Alive to Serve, are doing that very thing. And I hope that our listeners today have been encouraged as well as educated today about caregiving in other.
And just to mention about the elderly people, I mean, eh, should I look at you straight at your eyes, my fellow brothers and sisters, especially us from Africa, who like to run about and cry and use our money to buy the best garment for our mothers and brothers and sisters and grandparents when they are dead. We invest a lot on our burials, on and our funerals.
Burials
Yeah,
and
we
funerals.
we invest a lot there, and so what I would like to say is that in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, chapter 27, there was a man called Isaac, and when he grew blind, he could not see. He summoned his firstborn, who was called Esau, and he's saying, go to the forest, get some meat, cook it for me, let me eat. Verse number 4, Genesis 27 and verse 4, it says, so that I can bless you before I die. Dead people do not bless people. Living people can be a blessing to you, and they can speak a blessing to you. If you want to help that elderly neighbor, that disabled kid, that your elderly mother, your elderly grandfather or grandmother, help them when they are alive. I would rather miss their funeral than miss feeding them when they are alive.
Would rather miss their funeral than miss eating with them and providing them food while they're alive.
I would rather not contribute to a funeral, but contribute to feeding them when they are alive. We are alive to serve, and we are blessed to be a blessing.
That's a really good point. We have in the United States a lot of expenses and finances that go into a funeral, and we know that the funerals are not for the people that have passed away,
Yep.
but for the people that are survivors. And that brings us into a whole new topic we'll have to talk about someday, considering preparing to die as well as being good stewards of our finances. And I can share with you some of the things that I've gone through in my journey as I'm aging, and the best way that I believe, that God has showed me to handle my finances. So that's a great point. Well, thank you so much, Peter Wagura Chumishi from Alive to Serve organization in Kenya, Africa, and I've learned a lot. And even though I spend lots of time with Peter, sometimes I always learn something new because the Spirit of God speaks through him, and he's obedient to speak and say things that the Lord is showing him. And we're going to include contact information at the end of this broadcast in order to give you an opportunity to share in this ministry, to participate by sowing seed, financially donating in order to help these issues, including the situation with the sanitary towels or sanitary supplies like the napkins that we use back home that are disposable. However, in his case, they are reusable. And to help these girls, keep them in school, educate them, give them an opportunity to move on in the calling God has for them. And let's consider investing in this, because this is investing in the lives of the community that I believe is moving into a new future because of people like Peter. Thank you, and thank you for listening. And it's so good to hear from you all. And feel free to leave comments. And with that, we will talk next time. Have a blessed day.